Perhaps you too are profoundly offended at the audacity of the azalea bushes right now, carrying on blooming despite our current sorrow. It's all at once wondrous and comforting and also deeply insensitive of the world to continue growing and producing while we wait out our time of trial. The pollen at least knows its place to be constantly annoying and bent on making April more unpleasant than it has to be. Perhaps you also know, however, that this offense at the bursting, blooming world is just a symptom of our current common human problem, that we are being forced quite firmly to take our place in the order of this creation as vulnerable, fleshy things with all the love and resolve we can muster, but little power to stop foes we cannot see and that don't play by the rules we're used to. It's always seemed very fitting that our best story about life and death and life again comes to us in spring, when we are daily knocked over the head with real life demonstrations of that very concept, as the long sleeping green things come wriggling out of the soil, calling us out of our winter slumber. Holy Week's always been well situated that way, but this year's iteration seems wildly, almost indecently fitting now that we are faced with such stark reminders of our own fragility and lack of real control over the world in which we live. The illusion of control that most of us didn't realize dominates our lives has been brought out of its hiding place, and I don't know about you, but I don't like that color on me. Springtime's always a good reminder that the world carries on just fine without us, urging new life where we have not cultivated it. But this life in the time of coronavirus is quite a bit more of a direct and jarring reminder of our place in this old world. Not only do the new buds keep springing into life on all the red buds, but they do so in parks where we can no longer visit them, for fear that we might absent-mindedly put our hands on the same railing where someone else did just 15 minutes ago. Weeks ago, in what seemed like a lifetime ago, Derek asked, in reference to this passion reading, what is transformed by death on a cross? I think what's been true about that moment has been true since it first happened in Golgotha, but what it means for how we live now has changed. The call to crucifixion for Jesus was the fulfillment of a destiny, the steady march of events that gave the world a kingdom worth having, one built by passion and driven by love and service. But we are not called to crucifixion of the same sort. We will not be strung up on crosses and paraded around, our clothes divvied up, our bodies and resources given over to communal ownership, to be used up and edited and made into whatever idols may be needed to prop up the narratives that better suit us. But we are called to our own crucifixions, the inner and outward deaths of who we have assumed we were. We can spin the outcomes all we care to, but this springtime pandemic will force us to humble ourselves and who we think we are at the altar of the world and leave our now broken identities there as sacrifices. When there are no more schedules to hide behind, when we're forced to come to grips with how unprepared we are to fight a foe that is carrying on with no regard to who we are or what we want, we are compelled to strip all our altars bare of trappings and lay down, finally ready to be transformed. When there is struggle for breath and resources, we will have to lay down the organizations and institutions and governments and even religions we have built and relied upon and be ready to watch them tumble. We will have to be ready to build with the ashes, to stoke whatever fire is left burning and learn how to forge something new. In late summer, when the leaves and the lilies brown and shrivel and fall back into the earth, they are giving themselves over to the cycle of creation. They cannot bud out new and triumphant again next spring unless they yield to the marching of time and season and allow that small death to fold them down into something malleable again. Whatever we have been, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 has broken us, has nailed us to itself. And we are left to decide if we will become co-creators with God, if we will follow the story of transformation that Lent and Holy Week and Easter call us to, and choose to become soft and ready to make and be remade. We cannot come away from this and return to business as usual. It won't do. Not if we're serious about letting the reign of God break through in our own timeline. This time isn't a judgment from God or some fifth horseman of the apocalypse. It's an opportunity to release expectations and allow the spirit that spoke wisdom into the very beginning of the universe to speak wisdom into us and make it real in our world. The story of Jesus played out in fearful crowds calling for his death as a way to exert control, protect their interests, soothe their own worries and uncertainties. It played out with ineffective rulers whose empires were dissolving like dry clay, with frightened friends denying that they ever had anything to do with him. What is transformed by death on a cross? Will it be our healthcare system, our understanding of who is our neighbor and what it is we owe each other? Our economy that leaves some able to get by with a little fear and careful hand washing while others may scrub until their hands are raw, but who still have to go into jobs considered essential with pay that barely puts food on the table back home. Maybe the way forward is in the last instruction Jesus offers. He looks to his mother and to the beloved disciple standing there, bearing witness to his crucifixion, and he says, "Woman, this is your son, and here is your mother." In this moment, just before the transforming death, Jesus tells us our next step. You belong to each other. Take care of each other. Protect the vulnerable. Offer tenderness. Here is the identity worth picking up out of the rubble, worth resurrecting. In college, a group of us used to head out every Easter before dawn to drive out to Jamestown Island on the James River for the sunrise service. Arriving in the cold and dark, we'd sing and Alleluia and all the usual, but everyone knew we were all really there to witness that big sun slowly spreading out across the water and the land, flooding it all with a golden glow. It was staggering to watch happen and made the whole world feel new and like resurrection was something happening all over again. Life is about death, is about life, is about the flowing of the river, the rotations around the sun, the choices we make to be new as often as we are willing to declare one another, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, each other's. But for now, we, with Mary, with the beloved ones, bear witness. Wear our masks. Heal those we can. Hold those close to us. And wait. We wait by the cross. We wait in the tomb and trust that in the garden, as ever, life is forming from the ground up.